A sweet and powerful encouragement to the war. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Ephesians 6, verse 10. The apostle begins his speech with a word of encouragement to battle. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. The best way indeed to prepare them for the following directions. A soul deeply possessed with fear and dispirited with strong apprehensions of danger is in no posture for counsel. As we see in any army, when put to flight by some sudden alarm or apprehension of danger, it is hard rallying them in order until the fright occasioned thereby is over. Therefore the apostle first raises up their spirits. Be strong in the Lord, as if he should say, perhaps some drooping souls find their hearts fail them while they see their enemies so strong, and they so weak, so numerous, and they so few, so well appointed and they so naked and unarmed, so skillful and expert at arms, but they green and raw soldiers. Let not these or any other thoughts dismay you, but with undaunted courage march on and be strong in the Lord, on whose performances lies the stress of battle, and not on your skill or strength. It is not the least of a minister's care and skill in dividing a word, so to press a Christian's duty is not to oppress his spirit with the weight of it, but laying it on the creature's own shoulders and not on the Lord's strength, as here our apostle teaches us. In this verse, under 4 heads or branches we have first, a familiar appellation, my brethren. Second, an exhortation, be strong. Third, a cautionary direction annexed to the exhortation, in the Lord. Fourth, an encouraging amplification of the direction and in the power of his might, or in his mighty power. Be strong in the Lord by William Gurnall. Christian courage and resolution, how it is obtained. Now, Christian, if you mean to courageously bear up against all opposition in the march to heaven, as you should do well to raise your spirit with such generous and soul-ennobling thoughts, so in an especial manner ensure your principles are well fixed. Otherwise your heart will be unstable, and an unstable heart is weak as water. It cannot excel in courage. 2 things are required to fix our principles first, and establish judgment in this truth of God. He who knows not well what or whom he fights for may soon be persuaded to change his side, or at least stand neutral. Some who go for professors can hardly give an account of what they hope for, or in whom they hope. Yet Christians they must be thought, though they run before they know their errand. Or if they have some principles they go upon, they are so unsettled that every wind blows them down. Like loose tiles from a housetop, blind zeal is soon put to a shameful retreat, while holy resolution built on fast principles lift up its head like a rock in the midst of waves. The people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Daniel 11, verse 32. The angel told Daniel, who were the men that would stand to their tackling and bear up for God in that hour, both the temptation and persecution which should be brought upon them by Antiochus, that not all the Jews but some of them should be corrupted basely by flatteries, others scared by threats out of their profession, only a few with fixed principles who knew their God whom they served and were grounded in their religion. These should be strong and do exploits, that is, to flatteries. They should be incorruptible, and to power and force unconquerable. Second, a sincere aim at the right end of our profession. Let a man be never so knowledgeable in the things of Christ. If his aim is not right in his profession, that man's principles will hang loose. He will not venture much or far for Christ, no more, no further than he can save his own stake. A hypocrite may show some mettle at hand, some courage for a spurt in conquering some difficulties, but he will show himself a jade at length. He who has a false end in his profession will soon come to an end of his profession, when he is pinched on a toe where his corn is, called to deny that which his naughty heart aimed at all this while. Now his heart fails him. He can go no further. Oh, take heed of this squint eye to our profit, pleasure, honor, or anything beneath Christ in heaven, for they will take away your heart, as the prophet says, of wine and women, that is, our love. And if our love is taken away, there will be little courage left for Christ. How courageous was Jehu at first, and he tells the world it is ill for God. But why does his heart fail him then? Before half his work is done, his heart was never right set. That very thing that stirred up his zeal at first, at last quenched and cowed it, and that was ambition. His desire for a kingdom made him zealous against Ahab's house to cut off those who might in time jostle him aside from the throne. Which done, and he quietly settled, he dares not go through with God's work, lest he should lose what he got by provoking the people with a thorough reformation, like some soldiers when once they meet with a rich booty at the sacking of some town, are spoiled for fighting ever after. And third, a cautionary direction. Be strong in the Lord. In this we have a cautionary direction, having exhorted the saints at Ephesus, and in them all believers, to a holy resolution and courage in their warfare, lest this should be mistaken and beget in them an opinion of their own strength for the battle. The apostle leads them out of themselves for this strength even to the Lord. Be strong in the Lord, from whence we observe. The saint's strength lies in the Lord. Doctrine. That the Christian's strength lies in the Lord, not in himself. The strength of the general in other hosts lies in his troops. He flies, as a great commander once said to his soldiers, upon their wings. If their feathers be clipped, their power broken, he is lost. But in the army of saints, the strength of every saint, yea, of the whole host of saints, lies in the Lord of hosts. God can overcome his enemies without their hands, but they cannot so much as defend themselves without his arm. It is one of God's names, the strength of Israel, 1 Samuel 15:29. He was the strength of David's heart. Without him, this valiant worthy, who could when held up in his arms defy him who defied a whole army, behaves himself strangely for fear at a word or two that drop from the Philistine's mouth. He was the strength of his hands. He taught his fingers to fight, and so is the strength of all of his saints in their war against sin and Satan. Some propound a question whether there be a sin committed in the world in which Satan has not a part. But if the question were whether there be any holy action performed without this special assistance of God concurring, that is resolved. Without me you can do nothing, John 15:5, thinking strength of God. Not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything as of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God, 2 Corinthians 3 verse 5. We apostles, we saints that have habitual grace, yet this lies like water at the bottom of a well, which will not ascend with all our pumping till God pours in his exciting grace, and then it comes. To will is more than to think, to exert our will into action more than both. These are of God, for it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure, Philippians 2 verse 13. He makes a heart new, and having made it fit for a heavenly motion, set in every will as it were in its right place. Then he winds it up by his actuating grace and sets it going. The thoughts to stir, the will to move and make towards the holy object presented. Yet here the chariot is set and cannot ascend the hill of action till God puts his shoulder to the will. To will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not, Romans 7:18. God is at the bottom of the ladder, and at the top also, the author and finisher, yea, helping and lifting the soul at every round in its ascent to any holy action. Well, now the Christian is set on work, how long will he keep close to it? Alas, poor soul! No longer than he is held up by the same hand that empowered him at first. He has soon wrought out the strength received, and therefore to maintain a tenor of a holy course, there must be renewing strength from heaven every moment. David knew this, and therefore when his heart was as in a holy a frame as ever he felt it, and his people by their free will offering declared the same, yet even then he prays that God would keep this forever in the imagination of the thoughts of the heart of his people, and prepare their heart unto him. 1 Chronicles 29:18. He adored the mercy that made them willing, and then he implores his further grace to strengthen them, and tie a knot that these precious pearls newly strung on hearts might not slip off. The Christian, when fullest of divine communications, is but a glass without a foot. He cannot stand or hold what he has received any longer than God holds them in a strong hand. Therefore Christ, when bound for heaven and ready to take his leave of his children, bespeaks his Father's care of them in his absence. Father, keep them, John 17:11, as if he had said they must not be left alone. They are poor, shiftless children. They can neither stand nor go without help. They will lose the grace I have given them and fall into those temptations which I have kept them from while I was with them. If they are out of your eye or arms but one moment, and therefore, Father, keep them. Again, consider the Christian as addressing himself to any duty of God's worship. Still his strength is in the Lord. Number 1, prayer. Would he pray? Where will he find materials for his prayer? Alas, he knows not what he should pray for as he ought. Romans 8, verse 26. Left to himself, he will soon pray himself into some temptation or other, and cry for that which it would be cruelty in God to give. Therefore God puts words in our mouths. Take with you words and say, Hosea 14, verse 2. Well, now he has words put into his mouth. Alas, they will freeze on his very lips if he has not some heart-heating affections to thaw the tap. And where shall this fire be found? Not a spark to be found on his own hearth, except to be some strange fire of natural desires which will not serve. Whence then must a fire come to thaw the iciness of the heart? But from heaven. The Spirit must stretch himself upon the soul as the prophet on the child, and then the soul will come into some kindly warmth and heavenly heat in its affections. The Spirit must groan, and then the soul will groan. He helps us to these sighs and groans which turn the cells of prayer. He dissolves the heart, and then prayer bursts out of the heart by groans of the lips, by heavenly rhetoric. Out of the eyes as from a floodgate with tears. Yet further, now the creature is enabled to wrestle with God in prayer. What will he get by all this? Suppose he is weak in grace. Is he able to pray himself strong, or corruption weak? No, this is not to be found in prayer as an act of the creature. This drops from heaven also. In the day when I cried, thou answerest me, and strengthened me with strength in my soul. Psalm 138:3. David received it in duty, but had it not from his duty, but from his God. He did not pray himself strong, but God strengthened him in his prayer. Number 2, hearing the word. Well, cast your eyes once more upon the Christian as engaging in another ordinance of hearing the word preached. This soul's strength to hear the word is from God. He opens the heart to attend. Acts 16:14. Yea, he opens the understanding of the saint to receive the word so as to conceive what it means. It is like Samson's riddle, which he cannot unfold without his effort. He opens the womb of the soul to conceive by it, as the understanding to conceive of it, that the barren soul becomes a joyful mother of children. David sat for half a year under the public lectures of the law, and the womb of his heart was shut up until Nathan came, and God with him, and now is the time of life. He conceives presently, yea, and brings forth the same day, fallen immediately into the bitter pangs of sorrow for his sins, which did not cease until he had cast him forth in that sweet 51st Psalm. Why should this one word work more than all the former, but that now God struck in with his word, which he did not before? He is therefore said to teach his people the prophet. Isaiah 48:17. He sits in heaven that teaches hearts. When God's Spirit, who is the head master, shall call a soul from his usher to himself and say, Soul, you have not gone away to receive by hearing the word. Thus and thus conceiveth such a truth, and prove such a promise. Presently the eyes of his understanding open, and his heart burns within him while he speaks to him. Thus, you see the truth of this point, that the Christian's strength is in the Lord. Now we shall give some demonstrations or reasons why the saint's strength is laid up in God.